Bill Veeck newly integrated the Philadelphia Phillies in 1942. Can you share the story of how that came about with African American Registry?
The Phillies were in terrible shape, and it was wartime, and of course there was no talent, but there was tremendous talent in what were then called the Negro Leagues. My dad was wired in. He knew that there was a lot of talent, and a lot of great talent that had never been allowed to play. So in 1942, he made an offer for the Phillies and was going to people them, was going to provide players from the Negro Leagues. And the baseball hierarchy heard this and thought, oh my Lord. And when you think about the commissioners in the form of Happy Chandler and the Landis, for example, you're not thinking or talking about forward-thinking people. And the idea that Veeck would be so rambunctious as to cause this sociological change, this chasm, this shift, that really needed to be done by providing players from the Negro League was almost, well, it was too much for them because they managed to railroad the sale to a friend of theirs who later went busted. He paid less than my old man had offered. And now that was all very professional, I hope. Now, as his son, I'm going to tell you that my old man believed strongly. And his father before him had taught him a lesson, and that was simple. He took a table like this, in the old days was in a box office in the counting room, and it was had no windows. And my grandfather, who operated the Cubs, he did not own the Cubs, he operated the Cubs, took my father into the box office and told him to empty the tills out, drop money all over the table. And my grandfather looked at my father and he said, Bill, what's the color of that money? And my father looked at my grandfather, his father, and said, it's green. And he said, what's the color of the man or woman who put that money in the till? And my father looked at the money and he looked at my grandfather, and I'm sure he hesitated a moment, and then he said, I don't know. And my grandfather said, don't ever forget that lesson. So all signs point to the fact that Veeck wanted to acquire the Phillies. The hierarchy of baseball stopped him from doing it. And Branch Rickey obviously knew about this, and the rest is history. It's to take nothing away from Jack Robinson, take nothing away from Branch Rickey. But he was my old man, and I'm entitled to speak on his behalf. He would actually never say that, but I will.